In the 1950s, Bramalea was little more than fields and farms. The dream of urban planner Dr. Jim Siller in 1956 was to plan a community for the people, where everything would be in reach: home, work, shopping, school, doctors, and yes, church. He then approached farmer Bill Sheard, who helped talk other local farmers into the idea, and together they established Bramalea. He took the Bram from Brampton, the Mall from Malton, and the word Lee, a British word for meadow, to establish Bramalea. In 1959, the first homes were built, and by 1967, the area had mushroomed to over 11,000 residents. It is then, in September 20th, 1968, that 9 friends had breakfast at the local Highway Pancake House to pray about beginning a gospel work to impact this growing area. Reverend Mrs. Robinson, Mr. and Mrs. Portis, Mr. and Mrs. Skinner, Mr. and Mrs. Russell, and Mrs. Hawkins all came together. The name All People's Church was given, with Reverend Robinson chosen as its first pastor. Meetings started in a local hall, but later in 1969, the current land was purchased at 41 Finchgate Boulevard for $16,000 and a first building erected. An expansion project to build the current building we enjoy was then completed in the 1980s. Today, we are blessed to look back and see what God has done through the years, granting several pastors who have led All People's Church with integrity. Pastor Robinson, Pastor Edward Ripley, Pastor George Leroy, Pastor Clement High, Pastor Bud Crawford, and since 2005, our very own Pastor Tony Soldano.